Shweta Mataji, Prabhuji. We wanted to hear Shweta Mataji.
Okay. Swetaji, would you like to? Mangalacharan?
Is that the Aarti or the reading?
Yeah, just the invocation, Om Agyan.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Sorry.
I'm
know
going
that,
to
sorry.
put you on the spot. Huh?
I can do it. You have to.
Okay. Yeah, Sanchit Mataji. Yeah. Sure, Swetaji, no problem.
Thank you.
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं साद्वभूतं परिजनसहित कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्ता नमस्तुते। तप्त कंचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तविंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Sanchitji. That was really wonderful. A nice start for our Thursday Katha, Krishna Katha. And as all of you know, Narasimha Chaturdashi is coming up next Sunday. This Sunday? Yeah, it is coming up this Sunday. So another beautiful weekend in store on us. So we will be in the mandir, and just in case if anybody is coming. Actually, right now, as we speak in the manner, there's a Narasimha Katha which is going on by Brajavish. I think he's from ISKCON, Mumbai. Bihari Das, Braj Bihari Das.
Braj Bihari Das Babu.
He's doing very nice actually. So, okay. Hey Krishna, Karna Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagatpate, Gopisha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostute, Taptakanchana, Gaurangi Radhe, Vrindavaneshwara, Vishabhanuste, Devi Pranamami, Hari Priye. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining us. So we are starting off with another beautiful chapter. So Lord Krishna fights with Banashura. So we already covered, but for the quick one for everyone, last week we covered this chapter 62, which was actually meeting of Usha and Anuruddha. We spoke about it. That Bali Maharaj, King Bali Maharaj's son is Banashura, and Banashura had a daughter called Usha. And this Usha fell in love with Aniruddha, and Aniruddha happens to be the grandson of Krishna. And it's very in a beautiful pastime we are seeing. And Usha finds Aniruddha coming in her dreams, and she could just figure out in her dream that there is this beautiful boy whom she got in her dreams. And later she tells one of her minister's daughter, Chitralekha, and she kind of like gives the description of how this boy is looking like in her dreams. And so Chitralekha says, okay, wherever he is, I'm going to get him. So finally, she goes and gives the paintings of all the different men that she knows about, and then Usha finally recognizes that this is the boy whom I actually came in my dreams. And then they find that it's actually Aniruddha, who happens to be Krishna's grandson. And then Chitralekha, has some mystical powers. With her power, she manages somehow she goes to Dwaraka and picks up Aniruddha and gets him into Usha's palace. So Usha, so literally Aniruddha was living in the palace, and Usha was so much besotted in love with Aniruddha, such that she was she was just pampering with all the garments, garlands, and everything, and she was pleasing with all the words and things like that. But then again, the word of mouth goes everywhere, and people, they could find like something is changing in Usha's personality. Like they could make out that she's being involved with somebody, and then the word of mouth goes, and then Banasura he comes over to see like Usha, and then suddenly finds that Banasura finds Usha there with Aniruddha, and then he tries to call his soldiers to go and attack Aniruddha. But Aniruddha, of course, he is the grandson of Krishna, so he goes and fights him, and he fights all the soldiers, and all the soldiers were thrown away. But then Banashira was, as we know, he's actually a great devotee of Shiva, and Lord Shiva has given him a kind of a boon to have 1,000 arms. So he was like very, very powerful. So, and he also had this power of Nagapasha, or a snake nose, with the help of which he went and seized Aniruddha. As Aniruddha was actually escaping from the palace, he went and killed all the soldiers and all that. He just literally handled them like so simply. But again, when he was trying to escape from the palace, Usha, who's actually Usha's father, who's actually Banashira. Banashira is the son of Bali Maharaj. So he went and used his Nagapasha, a snake noose, and he went and captured Aniruddha and taken him to captivity. So obviously Usha, she was so much in love with him, so she was crying and things like that. So this is actually the 62nd chapter of Krishna, which we covered. Usha, the meeting of Usha and Aniruddha. And also, I just remember that today is an Ekadasi, Mohini Ekadasi. Such a wonderful thing, isn't it? I mean, I think recently it's happened that we had Ekadasi falling on a Thursday. So how fortunate we are all, right, to be covering Krishna Katha on a Thursday. Krishna, it's such a beautiful on Ekadasi day. So all glories to our devotees, and it's definitely a bonus for us. And as we always say, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tatpataha Chakradeham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti Sorajana. Krishna himself is saying that one who listens to Krishna Katha towards the end of their life, they will no more be born in this material world, but they will go to the highest planet ever in the spiritual world, that is called as Krishna Loka. In the material world, the highest planet is Brahmaloka, and within the spiritual world, the highest planet is Krishna Loka. That is where we're coming back. So we're starting with another chapter called chapter number 63, Lord Krishna fights with Banashira. Now here the action starts. And Krishna, there's a beauty about KrishnaBook is Krishna is always like, there's so much of action. Wherever Krishna is, there's always going to be nectar and nectar flowing, and there's going to be so much of joy in the way the events happen. So I just want to ask if anybody wants to read the first paragraph.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Should I read, Prabhu?
Yes, Gayatri ji, please.
Yeah. When the 4 months of the rainy season passed and Aniruddha had still not returned home, all the members of the Yadu family became much perturbed. They could not understand how the boy was missing. Fortunately, one day the great sage Narada came and informed the family about Aniruddha's disappearance from the palace. He explained how Aniruddha has been carried to the city of Shonitapura, the capital of Banashura's empire, and how Banashura had arrested him with the Nagapasha, even though Aniruddha had defeated his soldiers. This news was given in detail by Narada, and the whole story was disclosed. Then the members of Yadu dynasty, all of whom had great affection for Krishna, prepared to attack the city of Shonitapura. Practically, all the leaders of the family, including Pradyumna, Satyaki, Gada, Samba, Sharana, Nanda, Upananda, and Bhadra, combined together and gathered 12 Akshauhini military divisions into phalanxes. Then they all went to Shonitapura and surrounded it with soldiers, elephants, horses, and chariots. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. That was really nice. So as we were just mentioning about Chitralekha, who actually happens to be the Prime Minister's daughter and was a close friend of Usha, and she's the one, like as I said, she had some powers with the help of those powers, he somehow managed to get Aniruddha. And so Aniruddha was not even aware, like, what's happening. But she with the power, she went and got him. In fact, she tells Usha, like, wherever that person is in all these three planets, the higher planets, even the lower planets, wherever he is, I'm going to get him for you. So that was the assurance that she gave him to Usha. And she stuck to her word. She did that as soon as Usha recognized that this is the person who came to my dreams, and she went and got him. So we can see that in Dwarka now suddenly we finally, like, the rainy season has passed away. So we can see, obviously it must be in the closer to the month of December, somewhere like that, when Aniruddha still has not returned home. Obviously we can expect that the people, the family members like Rukmini and Krishna and everybody, like, they must be wondering, like, how come the boy is missing. Obviously Krishna is the supreme Lord. He's sitting in everyone's heart. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshi Arjuna Tishtati. Krishna is sitting in each and everyone's heart. So he knows everything what's happening. But everything that he has to, there is a purpose, there is a reason why all of these leelas have happened, of beautiful things about Krishna. For us, whatever we do is karma, but when Krishna enters and everything that's happening around Krishna, that is all leela. Nirbandhe Krishna Sambandhe. Anything that's so for us, whether it is the beautiful leelas of Krishna with the gopis, or whether he's going and killing Bakasura, anybody, so that's all going to be like anything that to do with the Krishna, that is pure nectar for us. So they couldn't understand. So obviously, like as I said, Chitralekha, she used the powers and she got Aniruddha to Sonitapura. But in the meanwhile, in Dwarka, they could not understand how this boy got missing. Actually, he was here. Like, all of a sudden, somebody just vanished from there. But we know that Narada Muni, he's he's a very very important role in all Harikatha. I was today morning, I was just seeing somewhere about Narada Muni. Narada Muni is such a blessed devotee that in his previous life, we all know the story that Narada Muni was actually maidservant's son. Actually, he was actually serving in a place where the rishis used to gather, and they used to discuss about Harikatha and all the spiritual topics. And he was just there listening, and what kind of an auspicious thing that Sadhu Sangha has given him so much of auspiciousness, so much of fortune, that he became a great devotee of the Lord as Narada Muni. And in fact, Narada Muni is the guru for so many beautiful, pure devotees, like even, with Narasimha Dev, Chaturdashi coming up this week. Even Prahlad Maharaj's guru is Narada Muni, right? Narada Muni, we all know that Narada Muni was speaking actually about Hari to Prahlad Maharaj when he was in the womb of his mother. And that's how he became such a great devotee. So Narada Muni is a great devotee of the Lord, and who has transformed so many people. In fact, he is the one who told even Vyasadeva, right? He's a guru for them as well. So important role that he plays. And he's the one, very interestingly, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Narada Muni is actually called as, is this Srinivas Pandit? Yeah, Srinivas Pandit. And he plays a very important role, because in fact Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I think the first thing, the Sankirtan that happened was in Narada Muni's, Srinivas Pandit's house. And he plays a very important role, and he informed, and so he knew about it, and about this incident, because he's got the powers that he can know all these things which has happened, and he plays a very important role in Harikatha. So he informed the people in Dwaraka about Aniruddha's disappearance, and actually what has actually happened, that he's actually the person. I mean, you can see even nowadays, right, in the material world, you find some people, astrologers, and some people, like, when somebody goes missing, then we go to certain people who can give us some kind of a guidance as to which direction the person has left. In fact, my brother was also missing when he was a small kid. And then we had to search all over the place. And then finally, we had to go to some spiritual people, and they say, like, you search for him in this direction. And finally, we found him out, actually, sitting somewhere in a train, in a train tanker. So sometimes it so happened. But Narada Muni had that powers that he could see, like, where Aniruddha is right now. And so he told them, like, actually, that he's actually been carried to the city of Sonitapur, which happens to be Banashura's empire. It is so amazing, isn't it? In Krishna Katha, we can see all those different empires and all the different places, the names, everything is very much crystal clear. And thanks to Prabhupada that we got all this nectar translated in English, so we are able to go through that. And Narada Muni also told him, like as I said, Bana should have used his power of Nagapasha, through which he was able to capture Aniruddha. So all these details are given. So obviously in the Yadu dynasty, I mean, it's a very powerful dynasty sitting over there, and with Krishna ruling the king of Dwaraka. So we can imagine that they all got prepared to attack the city of Sonatapura, and all of them, including Pradyumna, Satyaki obviously is the father, so obviously he'd be very concerned about it. Nanda, Sarana, Bhadra, all of them, they formed this Akshosini, and surrounded Sonitapuri. Sonitapuri is the place where the capital for Banashira, where he has this palace and where he has this Usha living in her palace. So yeah, so that's where the introduction, the starting has happened. Anyone next for the next one?
Yes, Prabhu. Can I read next paragraph? Yeah. Banasura heard that the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty were attacking the whole city, tearing down various walls, gates, and nearby gardens. Becoming very angry, he immediately ordered his soldiers, who were of equal caliber, to go and face them. Lord Shiva was so kind to Banasura that he personally came as the commander in chief of the military force, assisted by his heroic son Kartikeya and Ganapati. Nandishwara, Lord Shiva, seated on his favorite bull, led the fighting against the Lord Krishna and Balaram. We can simply imagine how fierce the fighting was. Lord Shiva with his valiant sons on one side, and Lord Krishna and Supreme Personality of Godhead and his elder brother Sri Balaramji on the other. The fighting was so fierce that those who saw the battle were struck with wonder, and the hairs on their bodies stood up. Lord Shiva was engaged in fighting directly with Lord Krishna. Pradyumna was engaged with Kartikeya, and Lord Balaram was engaged with Banasura's commander in chief Kumbhananda, who was assisted by Kupakarna. Samba, the son of Krishna, fought the son of Banasura, and Banasura fought Satyaki, commander in chief of Yadu dynasty. In this way, the fight was waged.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. So that's such a beautiful narration, right? In the way the Bhagavatam is so beautifully narrated, and with all the names and how the whole thing, we can literally visualize in front of us to see like how beautiful it must have been. I mean, this whole scenario. We all, we know about Ganapati, and people in Tamil Nadu, they worship Kartikeya, and Ganapati is worshipped in all the different places. But it's like all of them coming together, but in different roles and taking sides, isn't it? And as I was mentioning in the last chapter, we covered that Banashira was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. He was such a great devotee that when Lord Shiva was doing this Nataraj dance, he was the one who was actually doing the drums for Lord Shiva. So you can imagine, and Lord Shiva is called as Ashutosh. He's someone who gets very pleased in giving boons. He's known for giving boons very easily. He becomes, a lot of people, they go to Shiva because they know that it's very easy to please him, and whatever you want, he's ready to do that. In fact, he goes and gives him 1,000 arms actually to Banashira, and Banashira is like, was literally freaking out. He's like, what do I do with that? And he couldn't find anybody who can match up to fight with them, that he literally started banging into the mountains with his 1,000 arms. So you can imagine, like, what kind of benediction that Lord Shiva gives to his devotees. And not only that, he not only gave the benediction. Can you imagine that? No, Banashira is like angry that, like, Krishna and the whole Yadu dynasties came and they're attacking obviously we know that in the earlier also in the when you have the city, you have this whole, this whole, it will be fortified. We've seen that earlier also, right? When Krishna goes and fights with other demoniac people also. So obviously the city is like, covered with all these walls and all that. So that the Yadu dynasty was attacking all of these. And obviously we can understand that he would have got angry and he would have asked his soldiers to go and fight. But the important thing is that Lord Shiva becoming his commander in chief. So you can imagine sometimes even the roles that the lords play and all the demigods come into the picture. And Lord Shiva coming along with his son Kartikeya and Ganapati on one side, and then Krishna and Balaram, and along with his son Pradyumna, and along with his son Samba, and all of them fighting together. So we can, like as it's mentioned, it must have been such an amazing fight to at least to see Lord Shiva fighting with Krishna, and also Kartikeya, Pradyumna fighting. Pradyumna again, he's fighting with Kartikeya, and Balaram fighting with Banashira's commander in chief. But it's such a beautiful thing. Earlier also we seen when Rukmini was, when Krishna was taking away Rukmini from the palace and he was riding away towards Dwarka, we find that on the way when Rukmi, who is actually Rukmini's brother, was chasing them, and then we also seen like how, Balaram and his Yadava army, they went and stopped them, and they went and fought against Rukmi and the people, right, and all the soldiers. So similarly here also we can find that Balaram is also, along with Krishna, but he's fighting with the Banasura's commander in chief, and even Shamba was fighting against the son of Banashira. So such a fight between basically Sonatapura on one side and Dwaraka Yadu family on one side. So the action still, we're going to see like how it's going to be go on, and we'll see like the direct confrontation and how it's going to be, translated, and how it's going to go. So anyone like to read the next one? Sitaji, maybe this one?
Right, I'll try to read slowly, yeah?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Let me make my screen bright, can't see.
Oh, is it on a phone or something? Sorry, I hope
Yeah, I'm on phone, sorry. It's fine, I'll do it. News of the fighting spread all over the universe. Demigods such as Lord Brahma from higher planetary systems, along with great sages and saintly persons, Siddhas, Karanas, and Gandharvas, all being very curious to see the fight between Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna and their assistants. Hovered over the battlefield in their aeroplanes, Lord Shiva is called Bhutanatha because he is assisted by various types of powerful ghosts and denizens of the inferno, Bhutas, Pretas, Brahmachas, Guyakas, Dakins, can't even pronounce, Pisakas,
Akinis.
Kusmandas, Vitalas, Vinayakas, and Brahma Raskas, of all kinds. Of course, the Brahma Raksas are the most powerful. They are Brahmans who, after death, have entered the ghostly species of life.
Wow, amazing. Thank you, Sutaji. Sorry, I didn't
No
know.
problem.
I hope it was not your problem. Yeah.
That's fine.
So one of the things, like as you can see, like earlier also we've seen whenever Krishna is fighting against the demoniac people, all the demigods, they're just showering flowers, and they're just so anticipating and just watching how Krishna is handling, right? I mean, this has been the proper trend that in all the Krishna Katha, in all the different leelas that Krishna is doing throughout KrishnaBook, we can find that the demigods, they're like so pleased to see like Krishna in action and how Krishna is doing the things. Even Brahma was bewildered, isn't it? When he was there with the cowherd boys, and he was wondering like, how can Krishna, the Supreme Lord, be one of them, be playing with them like this kind of thing. So, and that's the reason why he went and hid the cows also and the calves at that point of time. So we can see that this fight between Lord Shiva and Krishna is not an ordinary thing. And even the demigods from the higher planets, and they're also so curious to watch the fight, as the demigods are always been the thing. So one of the things we can understand from Bhagavatam is about like higher planets, like where all the celestial beings and all these different jivatmas stay over there as well. Siddhas, Charanas, Gandharvas. It's just not like this is the only planet where the living beings are existing, but it's very clear that even the places like the sun, moon, everywhere, they're different entities. It's just that with our eyes, we cannot perceive all these things. And that's why a lot of time Krishna makes it very clear, like, like for people who say that, all gods are the same. It's not true actually. Yanti deva vrata devan putri yanti putri vrata. Bhutani yanti bhute jam yanti majyajino pimo. Krishna says, those who worship the demigods, they go to the planet of the demigods. Those who worship ancestors, they go to the planet of ancestors. And those who worship ghosts and spirits, they will be born among them. And those who worship Krishna, they will go to they're going to live with Krishna in the Krishna planet. So it is very, very clear cut. Oh, by worshipping demigods where we go, and by worshipping Krishna where we go. But here we can see that even the people, even the Atmas in the higher planets like Siddhas and all that thing, they were so curious to watch. And of course, like as we all know that, like, you know, when Lord Shiva, especially you would find, right, in we had the Kumbh Mela, we find like so many of this the people who actually land up from nowhere. Actually, I really don't know how they managed to know about Kumbh Mela. But there's, Agoris, like how they managed to come exactly at that time during the Kumbh Mela. It's just something which is so fascinating. But we find, like, the attire and the way they are. They had skulls. I'm sure like all of you would have seen, like in the Kumbh Mela, they had skulls around their neck, and there's a certain way, like, and sometimes maybe if you're not used to it, it would maybe very, very scary to you also to see. But actually, they're in a different level of consciousness, in the way that they worship Lord Shiva and the thing like here. So here it has been mentioned actually the different kind of why Krishna Shiva is called as Bhutanath, because it says he's assisted by various type of powerful ghosts and denizens, Bhutas and Pretas. It is mentioned that even when India was attacked so long time back by the Mughals, the Aghoris also, they came and fought against them, so they can do anything. They got, so they're in much more elevated situation, consciousness. And then you have the Vinayakas and Brahma Rakshas. In fact, I think this is a very, in back home also, we see people using this word like, oh, he's this guy, this person is just like a Brahma Rakshasa. Like, they literally compare like the Brahma Rakshasa. And here it's mentioned, like all the Brahma Rakshasa, they're like basically Brahmins who are after death have entered ghostly species of life. So through the Krishna Katha, we get to know so many things, isn't it? Like things like this, like Brahma Rakshasas, and how they're living entities which are in other, it's just not in this planet, but in other planets as well. And they just hovering over the battlefield in their airplane. So this Pushpak Vimana, or, like even in those days, it's not like only flights at this time, but even in those days also, they had this Pushpak Viman and kind of thing through which they used to just go in. And we can see that even the demigods, they were using that to watch this beautiful scenario that is happening between Lord Krishna and Shiva. So I'll just read this out. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, simply drove all the ghosts away from the battlefield with the arrows from his celebrated bow, Shanga Danur. Lord Shiva then began to release all his selected weapons against the Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Without any difficulty, contracted all these weapons with counter weapons. He contracted the Brahmastra, similar to atomic bomb, with another Brahmastra, and an air weapon with a mountain weapon. When Lord Shiva released a particular weapon bringing about a violent hurricane on the battlefield, Lord Krishna presented just the opposing element, a mountain weapon, which shook the hurricane on the spot. Similarly, when Lord Shiva released his weapon of devastating fire, Krishna contracted with torrents of rain. Oh my God, look at the nectar. So amazing, isn't it? Look at that. I mean, we all know about Lord Shiva, we know about Krishna, but this battle, imagine this directly, it is head-on collision, directly Lord Shiva fighting with Lord Krishna. And how beautiful is it? Like, and here, like sometimes we get into debates and who is greater and who is the thing. But sometimes if you get into the devil is in the detail, you go through the detail, go through Bhagavatam, and then you get to understand the position of Krishna, that how he handles right from the beginning of Krishna Katha, we've seen how Krishna is handling. So even though Lord Shiva is Bhutanatha and who's been assisted by all these Aghoris and all the different kind of Bhutas, still they were no match for Krishna. And he was able to just drive them away with the celebrated bow. So what is not possible for Krishna? In fact, in Vishnu Sahasranamam, the last and towards the end of this 1,000 names of Krishna, Ratangapani Akshobha Sarva Praharana Yuddhaha, it is mentioned, one of the name of Krishna, which means whatever Krishna touched, he can convert that into a weapon. When Bhishma Pitama was there, Lord Krishna lifted the wheel, and he can translate that also into a Sudarshan Chakra, and he can throw it. So any instrument also can get its power by Krishna holding it. That can become into a weapon by just Krishna holding it. So you can see that Krishna was able to just Bhutanatha, even though he was surrounded by all these people who were ready to fight on his behalf, there were no match for Krishna. And when we were small kids, we used to watch movies. I'm sure Amoga Prabhu and Nagaraj Prabhu can relate. In our childhood movies, we used to watch in Telugu, and we used to always see this in Maya Bajar and all that. And one side, they release a weapon, air weapon, and other side there's a water weapon, or one side there's a fire weapon bow which is covered with fire, and at the other side there's a bow covered with water, and they both dash, and finally the the fire used to win or the water used to win. So like that. So there were weapons in those days actually where they used to counteract these weapons in the air. They used to send those weapons into the air, and in the air they would counteract. So here we can see that even though Brahmastra was thrown at Krishna, similarly with Krishna was able to counteract with another Brahmastra. Can we even think about it? In today's world, a small problem comes and we just keep running away. Just forget about just even a Brahmastra. You can't even think about, withstanding this material energy in these days. But here in this, here's the Supreme Lord from whom everything is. He is the source of everything spiritual and material, right? Aham sarvasya prabhu mata sarvam pravartate. He is the source of everything. So everything in this material world is getting this effectiveness by the power of Krishna. So even if there could be a Brahmastra, he can counteract with another Brahmastra. So we have to know the position of Krishna. How can we fall in love with Krishna when we know how great Krishna is? That he is the only one who can give liberation. No one else can give liberation. It's only Krishna who can give liberation. It's only Krishna who can counteract this Brahmastra with another Brahmastra, and an air weapon with a mountain weapon, and a hurricane weapon with a mountain weapon. So this is the kind of position of Krishna. So Lord Shiva was releasing a weapon, which is again a violent hurricane on the battlefield, and Krishna has used the mountain weapon to check the hurricane. So like that, there is a clash between Shiva and Krishna, but it is clearly showing that when even Lord Shiva released his weapon of devastating fire, counteracted it with the torrents of rain. So obviously the rain would put off the devastating fire as well. So Lord Shiva was trying to, because he gave a word to Banashira that he's going to support him. He was there and fighting on his behalf of his devotee. But at the same time, here Krishna has a stake. This is his own grandson Aniruddha, who's there actually, who's been taken away and who's been now imprisoned. Now he's not going to allow that. So on one hand, you have Lord Shiva, who's obliged to his devotee and trying to take the commander in chief and protecting his devotee. On the other hand, it's Lord Krishna who's come there because his grandson he's been taken away. So the war is going to continue. And I was just thinking maybe we should just continue the next week. Just ask for everybody's opinion if that's okay. The war and the fighting is just started. So, and we see that it's happening between Lord Shiva and Krishna. But again, Lord Krishna and Shiva, we all know that when Krishna was a small child, it was Lord Shiva who came and was waiting outside to have the darshan of Krishna. And we know that Mother Yashoda didn't allow to show Krishna to Shiva. And Lord Shiva, when he was leaving the place, Krishna cried, and he didn't stop crying till they called Lord Shiva back. So that when Krishna seen Lord Shiva, that's when he stopped crying. So we have to understand that everything is a Leela in Krishna Katha. Even this also towards the end, we will see the Leela. But this is a beautiful Leela unfolding. The nectar is still flowing. So is it okay if we can cover next week, devotees?
Yes, sure.
Okay, yeah, Sritaji. Thank you for that. So anyways, we still have a way to go. This is going to be quite a long chapter, and we got so much to cover. So, but again, there's so much of nectar in all of these things. So I'm sure you're all going to enjoy this coming Leela that's going to happen, and we'll see like who wins and how they're going to win, and how Krishna is going to handle this whole situation. So I'll stop sharing over here. And yeah, is there anything else anyone would like to add? Anything else? Any comments? Any corrections, comments?
We should all pray to Krishna to give our army the strength, confidence, and all the things for them to fight. And they're giving our lives to all 160 billion people. They're taking care of us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We should not shy away from this kind of a things. We definitely have to pray for our army. I'm sure they're very capable, and it's time to stand up for Dharma. The main thing is we are speaking about whole Sanatan Dharma. The original name of Hinduism is Sanatan Dharma. And Dharma means anything. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranityam. Anything that Lord instructs, that is Dharma. And what is the Lord instructing? He's saying, Atistotista Bharata, stand up and fight. Armed with the weapon of yoga, stand up and fight. So we all have to be in together supporting this dharmic, yuddha. Dharma yuddha is what Krishna is always mentioning about. So that is something we should all support, and we should always be there for our Sainik.
Yes.
Yeah, Nairu Prabhu, that's a nice one that you mentioned.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Samaga Prabhu.
So just here, just for the just Aniruddha's sake, which was a little bit adharma. So Krishna is fighting with along with all his family members and against Lord Shiva and all the demigods like Lord Ganesh and Kartikeya, Kali, Mahakali, and all the demigods. See, so just for the sake of Aniruddha to fight with dharma. So likewise here, even India army is just fighting for dharma only. It is not for the personal. We did not agitate anyone else before. That is the principle that India is following for a long time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So well
Hare
said, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So well said. It was a very calibrated one. And just retaliate for what's happened. But let's pray for our soldiers. And I want to thank each one of you on a weekday. You took time to listen to Krishna Katha on a Mohni Ekadasi day. So very fortunate to have all your association. I feel so humbled, and so thank you so much for giving your association. I hope everybody is enjoying this fight between Lord Shiva and Krishna, and there's so much we're going to cover in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Like all glories to your service. And yeah, as Nagaraj Prabhu was mentioning in the beginning, I think we all of us not here. Maybe he said, there's a war going on in our country, and then war here. So it's like replication of Krishna Katha going on. That war for dharma is always very important. So it's Krishna's way of saying we have to stand by, by this. And yeah, there's when you see like here so many, especially if we are India, it's very easy to be with the country, like but by heart and soul, if we are, then of course, if nowhere, wherever we are, will support. But when you read at the Western media, because we are here, and the comments and the things that the children hear, as Amagopa was saying, and all that, so it's very difficult to balance, what is going on there and what our children are facing day in day out, like other religion children going. So in that perspective, giving them this Krishna consciousness is so much important, because the wrong things they learn in madrasas, all the madrasas, in our religion, or it's not taught. Like if you are a Sanatani and somebody is Sikh or somebody is Buddhist or somebody is Jain, we never teach our children that you do not disrespect them. We always, sarva dharma saman, we teach that, like every religion is equal as long as they're doing the dharma.
Absolutely.
But so our children, grow up like not having any agitation or bad feeling for anybody. But in these madrasas that they teach that, kafirs and whatever and all that from the very beginning. So these children, when they grow up into their teenage adulthood, they become so cutter, that what I don't know the English word. I mean, like so much violent in their body and mind that they're ready to die for the country. Not country, I mean, yeah, not like fighting, like suicide bombers and all that, like not as doing the dharma. They think that is okay. But so here, I mean, that's what I was mentioning, that giving Krishna consciousness to children to be balanced, to understand dharma, when to stand by for your country, for the war, and how to balance. Because in India, we all, we are a community, so everybody's together. But here we have to go through, I mean, especially we still have our logics, but our children, that's what we are facing. They do not have the exact logic. They do not have all the background, the history, what happened to Kashmiris. And I mean, we should have taught them, but sometimes it's the education here and there. It's difficult parallelly to teach them as well, along with spirituality. So we are still giving spirituality to them, but they have to be like, have the nerves to be courageous and calm with spirituality, all this, because agitation keeps on and off in schools and all that. And whether they are primary school, secondary school, this will go on. So
Yeah.
Krishna, that's why spirituality is so important. And we are really fortunate, as you mentioned, that we are able to pass some of it to our children, trying really hard. Mostly that has like become more important, to pass the right education to the children. So, I mean, beyond our own goals and also, yeah, that is important to learn. I mean, though, we have, like, I was surprised what Pranshu was saying today, like in their class, they have Indian, I mean, it's a shame to even say this on record, like it's being live session, but children are saying, I mean, they're Indians, they're born here, and woke parents, and they're saying what India is doing is stupid. So, they have our children, they have to deal with these people. I mean, when Pakistani children are saying, we understand that, of course, there will be something, but Indian children are saying, what India is doing is stupid. So it's not easy. It's more difficult, more challenge. Krishna has put us, of course, a bit of comfort, physical, but more discomfort, like mentally and all that, to deal with all this.
Yeah, as you said, it's very important to keep children in Krishna consciousness and kind of like, because if we practice it, they will see and they will learn from that, like I said, even Narad Muni was just a maidservant's son. He had no knowledge actually, but he was there in the presence of Sadhu Sangha, and that made him into such a great devotee like Narad Muni. So if, as long as the children are in the association of parents who are like devotees or who are at least coming to the temple, that's the reason why sometimes when last weekend also, when the children were there, I just got everybody sitting around and just do the kirtan and just make them enjoy the place so that they will feel like coming back again, to the mandir. And at least that will help for them to have a sense of feeling that, yeah, we belong to this Sanatan Dharma and Krishna consciousness. Some way we had to find ways and means how we can keep our children and everybody together.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, when we start giving it, you're doing amazing service, Prabhu. So when we give it from the very beginning, they know it's like they have the taste for it. Some of in our local also, there's a couple of families. I tell them, take the children and all. Initially they did not like, but now they want to go at least see the cows and all. So prashadam and the bakery and everything. So slowly, of course, everything starts with prashadam only. So definitely the taste. I mean, the seed is sown, so sometimes it'll, grow. We do not know how many years, but at least we do our dharma seva.
Absolutely,
Lord, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, we can all
Thank
do
you,
our
Prabhu.
bit. Okay. So thank you everyone. Hare Krishna. Vanchikalpatarubhyasya kripasinduvyavacha.
Patitana bhavanibhyo vaibhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's all please say three loud Hari Bols to Prabhu. Shyam Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Haribo,
Hari
Haribo,
Bol. Hari Bol.
Haribo.
Feel so blessed and fortunate on
Thank you,
Ekadasi
Prabhu.
day to have your association. Thank you very much, and we'll cover next Thursday. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.